For centuries, the drums of war have echoed across our planet, a relentless beat that has shaped the course of human history. From the fertile fields of Europe, where countless battles have been fought, to the arid deserts of the Middle East, where modern conflicts rage on, the story remains tragically familiar. Nations clash, empires rise and fall, and millions of lives are lost in the name of what exactly? Power, ideology, resources. The reasons are as varied as they are complex, yet the outcomes are heartbreakingly similar. This much is clear: while the reasons for war may be complex, the suffering they inflict is universal. The pain and loss experienced by those caught in the crossfire know no borders. But amidst the chaos and carnage, a disturbing question arises. Who truly profits from this perpetual cycle of violence? Who stands to gain when the world is plunged into turmoil? Who benefits when nations crumble, economies falter, and countless innocent lives are extinguished? The answer is often hidden in plain sight, obscured by the fog of war. The answer, as we'll explore, often lies not in the trenches with the soldiers, but in the gilded halls of power. It is here, in the corridors of influence, that the true beneficiaries of war reside. It rests with the leaders who send young men and women to fight and die, and with the elites who line their pockets while the world burns. These individuals, far removed from the front lines, make decisions that have devastating consequences for millions. This isn't about conspiracy theories. It's about understanding the mechanisms of power and profit that drive the war machine. This is about following the money, tracing the lines of power, and exposing the uncomfortable truth. War, for some, is not a tragedy, but a business opportunity. The defense industry, with its vast profits, plays a significant role in perpetuating conflict, and it's a business that thrives on the blood and sacrifice of ordinary people. The true cost of war is borne by those who have no say in its inception, yet suffer its consequences the most. As we delve deeper into this topic, we must remember the human faces behind the statistics, the lives disrupted, and the communities torn apart. Only by understanding the full scope of war's impact can we hope to break the cycle and strive for a more peaceful future. History, if it teaches us anything, teaches us that we rarely learn from history. The lessons of the past often go unheeded, and the same mistakes are repeated time and again. Over the past 2 centuries, the world has been ravaged by conflicts both grand and horrific. These wars have reshaped nations, toppled empires, and left indelible marks on the collective memory of humanity. The Napoleonic Wars, a storm that raged across Europe, left millions dead and redrew the map of a continent. Napoleon's ambition and military genius brought both glory and devastation, altering the course of history. The American Civil War tore a nation in two, pitting brother against brother in a brutal struggle over slavery and unity. This conflict not only determined the fate of a nation, but also set the stage for future civil rights movements. World War I, the war to end all wars, proved to be anything but, leaving a generation scarred and setting the stage for an even greater conflict. The trenches of Europe became a symbol of the futility and horror of war. World War II, fueled by the hate-mongering of fascist regimes, plunged the world into darkness, resulting in an unprecedented scale of death and destruction. The Holocaust, atomic bombings, and countless battles left a legacy of sorrow and lessons yet to be fully learned. And in the decades since, from Korea to Vietnam, from the Persian Gulf to the mountains of Afghanistan, the march of war has continued, leaving a trail of shattered lives and broken promises in its wake. Each conflict has its own story, its own heroes and tragedies, but the underlying themes of power, ideology, and human suffering remain constant. Each conflict, unique in its causes and consequences, serves as a stark reminder of humanity's capacity for both violence and resilience. War memorials and veteran stories stand as testaments to the bravery and sacrifice of those who fought and the enduring hope for a more peaceful future. Few figures in history embody the paradoxical nature of war leadership like Napoleon Bonaparte. A brilliant military strategist and a ruthless dictator, Napoleon rose from humble beginnings to conquer much of Europe. He was a master of propaganda, presenting himself as a liberator while crushing any opposition to his rule. Napoleon's ambition knew no bounds. He craved power, glory, and his name etched in the annals of history. And he achieved it all, albeit at a terrible cost. His wars, waged across countless battlefields, left millions dead, both soldiers and civilians. While Napoleon's legacy remains complex, one thing is clear. His pursuit of personal glory fueled a continent's worth of bloodshed. He serves as a cautionary tale of how ambition, unchecked by morality, can have devastating consequences. Section 4, Chapter 2. Lincoln, Holding a Nation Together. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, faced a different kind of war, a war to preserve a nation teetering on the brink of collapse. His leadership was tested in ways that no other president had experienced before. The American Civil War was a conflict unlike any other, a battle not against a foreign power but against itself. It was a war that pitted brother against brother, neighbor against neighbor, and it threatened to tear the very fabric of the nation apart. Lincoln, a man of deep conviction and unwavering resolve, found himself thrust into the role of a reluctant warrior. He was not a man who sought conflict, but he understood that sometimes conflict was necessary to achieve a greater good. He understood the horrors of war, the terrible toll it would take on both sides. The bloodshed, the loss of life, and the deep scars it would leave on the nation were all too real to him. Yet he also recognized that preserving the Union, even at the cost of unimaginable bloodshed, was paramount. The survival of the United States as a single unified nation was at stake, and Lincoln was determined to see it through. Lincoln's leadership during the Civil War was defined by his unwavering commitment to the ideals of freedom and equality. He believed deeply in the principles upon which the nation was founded, and he was willing to fight to ensure that those principles endured. He believed that a nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal could not survive half slave and half free. This belief was the driving force behind his actions and decisions throughout the war. His Gettysburg Address, a masterpiece of oratory, eloquently articulated the war's purpose and honored the sacrifices of those who fought and died for the Union. In just a few short minutes, Lincoln was able to capture the essence of the conflict and the hope for a united future. Lincoln's legacy is a testament to the idea that leadership in wartime is not about seeking glory, but about shouldering the immense weight of responsibility for the lives lost in the future of a nation. His ability to navigate the nation through its darkest hours and emerge with a vision for a more just and equal society is a testament to his enduring impact on American history. The Emancipation Proclamation, another cornerstone of Lincoln's presidency, marked a turning point in the war and in the nation's history. By declaring the freedom of all slaves in Confederate-held territory, Lincoln not only struck a blow against the institution of slavery, but also redefined the war as a fight for human dignity and equality. Today, Lincoln's vision of a united and free nation continues to inspire generations. His leadership during one of the most tumultuous times in American history serves as a powerful reminder of the strength and resilience of the human spirit and the enduring power of hope and justice. And Section 5, Chapter 2, Hitler, the monster who fed on war. No exploration of wartime leaders would be complete without confronting the specter of Adolf Hitler. Unlike Napoleon or Lincoln, Hitler's legacy is one of unmitigated evil. Driven by a toxic ideology of racial purity and territorial expansion, he plunged the world into a conflict that claimed the lives of over 60 million people. Hitler's rise to power was fueled by a potent mix of economic despair, nationalistic fervor, and masterful manipulation of propaganda. He preyed on the fears and prejudices of the German people, promising them a return to greatness while scapegoating minorities and whipping up a frenzy of hatred. Under his twisted and tyrannical rule, Germany became a war machine, its industries churning out weapons, its citizens indoctrinated with a poisonous ideology. Hitler's wars were not wars of liberation or unification, but wars of conquest and extermination. He represents the darkest depths of human depravity, a stark reminder of the horrors that can be unleashed when power is left unchecked and hate is allowed to fester. Section 6, Chapter 2, Bush, A War on Terror, A War for Oil. The aftermath of the September 11th attacks on the United States saw the world grapple with a new kind of enemy terrorism. George W. Bush, then President of the United States, declared a war on terror, vowing to hunt down those responsible and prevent future attacks. The invasion of Afghanistan, aimed at dismantling al-Qaeda and toppling the Taliban regime, enjoyed widespread international support. However, the subsequent invasion of Iraq, launched under the premise of Saddam Hussein's alleged possession of weapons of mass destruction, proved far more controversial. The Iraq War, mired in controversy over its justification and execution, dragged on for years, costing thousands of American and Iraqi lives and destabilizing the entire region. While the Bush administration's motives for invading Iraq remain a subject of debate, the war's aftermath raises critical questions about the use of military force, the influence of special interests, and the price paid by ordinary people caught in the crossfire.